Welcome to Tommy Solo's Famous Friends. This is part of our The Singers series, and today I'm very happy to have with me Errol Starr Francis, Peace Troubadour. Welcome to the show, Errol.
Yes, thank you, Tommy. Thanks for having me.
It is absolutely my pleasure. Now, from what I understand, from what I know about you, you love to spread the vibration of peace through your music and song. And you started off early playing in your dad's R&B and reggae band, and then you went through the circuit playing rock music with the guys and so on. Eventually, you headed down this more spiritual R&B path, and during the '90s, you had a fair bit of success with that. The Temple of Love album was quite a success. So give us a little bit of the history of how you got to that point.
Sure. I mean, in terms of the spirituality, that's always sort of been there for me, as an undertone, propelling me to do things that were more universal and more friendly um, to the environment and just all around just better. So my dad's band, what happened with that is that he got me a guitar, and you mentioned my Gibson Cup. He got me a Gibson Melody Maker. I think I was 14, or just turned 14, and he just gave it. He bought me a Gibson Melody Maker and a little Gibson amp and a book to learn how to play guitar. And I started playing it, and after about 3 months, he kind of walked by my room and he heard me playing. I think I was playing some Robin Trower or something like that. And he went, "Wow, do you want to join my band?" and he had already had this band, R&B, reggae, funk band going called, it was called People's Choice in Kitchener Waterloo area. And they were one of the premier bands in the town. And he was looking for a guitar player. And he hadn't heard me play or even ask me to play anything. He didn't teach me anything. He basically gave me a book and the guitar, right? And so I went off and did my thing and learned how to play it. And like I said, I was in there playing stuff like Robin Trower and Jeff Beck and all of that kind of great stuff. And he heard me play and he thought, you want to join the band? I said, well, if you think I'm good enough, I'll come out and check it out. And for me, reggae was very easy because it's like three chords, just kind of grooving, and you fit in the groove and away you go. Very little in lead solos. I wasn't really a lead guitar player, but I tried, but I was really a rhythm guitar player. And so that band was flourishing really well. And at that time I was, I guess, grade 7 going in grade 8 or grade 9, grade 8 going in grade 9. And by the time I got to grade 9, it was like, okay, let's start a band in high school. And so I started a band in high school, and we were playing, the stuff on the radio, rock, um, Led Zeppelin, ZZ Top, you name it, any of the good stuff, we were playing it. And we were playing roller rinks and high school dances and all of that. Plus I was in my dad's band. So there was two groups going on at the same time that I was in. And from there it was let's see how far we could take it. And I learned how to sing. I wasn't the lead singer of my first band. We had hired a singer from Toronto, and it's some gig we were on, and all of a sudden the singer didn't show up. And so everybody was looking at me like, okay. So I sang some stuff, and that's how I became the singer, actually, by default.
Now, I know that happens. That happened to me too. I was kind of voluntold I was going to be the singer in the band. I don't know if it was because I was standing closest to the mic in the room or whatever, but it happens. But now you touched on an important point about groove earlier when you were saying that reggae was easy because it's three chords, but when you get into the groove, that's something a lot of musicians takes a lot of time for some people to understand about the groove. You hear certain songs get really maligned, like Mustang Sally. It's not the
Mm,
song that sucks. It's the fact that people don't understand the groove, and I think that's key. Now, I just wanted to touch on being voluntold that you're the singer. Did you have any idea about technique when you first started out? Or I know that today, all these years later, you still have a very clean voice. So obviously, at some point, you've learned some tips and tricks.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I had no clue about singing. Basically, we were rehearsing in a room. Geez, I mean, you can't see my room here, but I mean, it was like a garage, right? Yeah, of course, that's the best place to rehearse. And what happened was the band was so loud that I had to go into a closet so I could hear myself sing because it was so freaking loud. And we didn't have like, monitors or what, we had a couple of things, you could hear me. And but it wasn't like we had, really professional setup with monitors and stuff like that. So I just was just singing my heart out. But it wasn't until years later that I actually went and got singing lessons from an amazing instructor out of Hamilton. Ed Johnson was his name. And he taught me some things that would save my voice on the road, one, and how to expand my range. And he was more of an operatic technique singer, which I was like, what? I'm not going to sing opera. What do I need to know this stuff for? But you know what? It saved me many times. I mean, there was a lot of times we were on the road for, we'd do a week in a place in Val d'Or, Quebec. And, you had to be there, and then we're off to someplace else, and then we're off to somewhere else. So you're living on the road. So you got to take care of yourself. Right. So there were times where late nights and, you'd wake up like this, and then how are you going to do that? Then you'd have to shift into the technique, and it worked. And yeah, so it did help, and it does help. I'll say to any singer, if you want to have longevity in this industry, learn the techniques that's going to save your voice from, being wrecked and ruined by just, doing the wrong things. And it's very easy to do the wrong thing.
I had to learn the hard way myself. Back in the early '80s, I was in a full-time band touring out of Toronto, and like you, I had talent, but I didn't really have any technique. And so when I fried my voice, I had to take some lessons, and I didn't get all that much out of the technique as much as I did on looking after yourself, which is hard on the road. I mean, you diet, proper
Yep.
nutrition, rest, and staying hydrated. So one thing I did was I started to use a mister, like a humidifier,
Yes.
overnight, and I
Yes.
found that that made a big difference because uh, and back in those days too, we had smoking in the bars, right?
Right.
And you talk about Quebec,
Oh
that was
yeah.
a real grind because not only was it a later show, but it was 7 days. And
Yep.
we used to go till 2 or 3, I think,
It
back
was
then.
it was grueling, man. It was grueling because you had 7 days, and you started at 9 and you did till 2 a.m. And it was smoky in there, and the rooms we were sleeping in, they were dry. And yeah, I did the same thing. I got a humidifier to have the mist in the air so that it wouldn't dry my throat out in the middle of the night. And basically, it came to a point where they thought I was antisocial because I would not go out in the crowd in between sets. I'd be in the dressing room, towel around my throat, keeping it warm, and not talking, not
I
talking.
found that in the past, I have actually hurt my voice by mingling in the crowd, because you're out there and now they've got the DJ
Music,
is playing
right?
probably as loud or louder than the band, and you're trying to
Right.
be nice and talk to people, but you're talking like this,
Exactly.
and
No,
now
same
I was
thing.
just using my diaphragm there, but back then, you know, yeah,
Yes. You were just trying to
uh,
get over top of the music so that people could hear you and being friendly, right? I mean, I did the same thing, and then realized that at the end of the last set's like,
and
right.
what about alcohol? Did that ever have a detrimental effect on you?
Well, I didn't do that much in way of drinking. So that was okay. it was mostly at the end of the evening where I'd, have a beer with the guys or whatever. But during the night, I couldn't do that because that just dried my throat out. Couldn't do it.
Absolutely. So these are really important tips for, especially for younger people getting into the business that want to be a singer. And,
Absolutely.
it is a job, right? And you have to be disciplined in any job. So you can't show up at your job at the post office, for example, and have alcohol in your system, right?
No,
You,
no,
you can't show up to your job at the warehouse and not have any sleep, right? So
exactly.
same thing.
And
This is a job. Let's
it's
fast
important.
forward for a minute, Errol, if we
I just
could.
want to say one important thing about
Sure.
that is that you need to warm up. Okay, warming up made the difference in a lot. I've talked to other singers. It's made the difference in their performance because you just don't jump on without warming up on anything in sports. Even you warm up, you stretch out, you get ready. You just don't jump on the stage and go and do it. You spend some time, and one of the greatest warm-ups that Ed Johnson ever taught me was just and I'd walk around the place doing and people would be like, what is up with him? Right. But I
That's
didn't
I was
care.
going to say, a lot of singers they'll do the vocal warm-ups by going running scales and so on, but a lot of guys don't understand what you just did, lip trills, that loosens up your facial muscles, right? So it's just like
Take
being a football player,
takes the
whatever, you got to loosen
emphasis
up your muscles.
takes the emphasis off the throat, brings it to the hard palate and to your lips, and you're just warming up the pathway, right? So that it's easy enough for your vocal cords to then move together very easily like this. And yeah, yeah. It's stuck with me all these years. I do it, I still do it. If I'm going to do a live gig, I'm warming up.
It's part and parcel, I guess. Relaxation is really important. Confidence and being relaxed, I find, are really important to being able to sing at your best. Now, you have been a multi-award winning singer and producer over the years. And during the 90s, I touched on the fact that the Temple of Love album was quite successful for you. So that got you on radio and you were involved with radio from a production standpoint as well. So you went from being a rock singer and touring the bars to all of a sudden getting into that role. So how did that happen?
Well, I was in the band Harbinger for many years, and that was a rock band, and we did some amazing tours and some great live shows. And what happened with that band was we ended up, well, I ended up leaving the band over some controversial stuff with the management, the management of the group. So I took some time off and wrote some material and did a showcase at the Elmo Combo where we had invited down all the major labels and a couple of management companies. And it was, really by the grace of God that evening we ended up signing, well, not signing that evening, but potential signings of a label deal with A&M Records and a management deal with Neil Dixon of Dixon and Propass Management. They came out, they saw the show, they were really impressed, and they felt that they could do me justice. And so we did the deal, and we started out with a couple of singles first. And the couple of songs that I had in my arsenal were not quite there yet, not quite ready. So they paired me up with a great co-writer, Eddie Schwartz of Hit Me With Your Best Shot, and a fantastic guy and really knew his craft. And we crafted the song Angel together. I sort of had melody structure and some chords and stuff like that. And I played piano and played guitar. And so chords were there. But once we got in there, we started to craft the song out. And then we hired a producer we were planning to do 4 singles before we launched the album. And we hired David Tyson, and he had just come off the Black Velvet record He just had finished that, and he was ready to go. Amazing keyboard player, amazing R&B sensitivity. And so, yeah, we got involved in the creation of a couple of songs, one being Angel, another one being Holding Out for You, which is more of an R&B, you know, adult contemporary type track. And that did really well. That was the first one out the gate. We did a somewhat of a video for it. We had a budget of $500. So we kind of got a video. And then that did really okay as an introductory to who I was to the market. And then we did a dance track called The Key. And that went to, I think that went all the way to number 2 in the dance tracks in Canada. Back then there was a group called a Cheer Pool, and they were a group of DJs right across Canada that belonged to this Cheer Pool, and they all got service the record and they played it forever and they loved it. It was really popular on the dance floor, and so it made it onto the dance charts, and it was number 2 for a number of weeks, and I've won a couple of Black Music Awards from that track. And then we went to the third single, which was the breakout one, which was Angel, and we put some decent money in the video production, and of course David Tyson did a great job producing that track, and he took it out west to mix it with Bob Rock. I don't know if you know him as an engineer out there. You know, he's done Bryan Adams and so on and so forth. Excellent people, really knew their craft, and I was very, very blessed to be in that kind of company. And that song took off. It just like, that was it. That was the one that, you know, kind of broke the ice. And it's you know, it's very nice R&B, adult contemporary type track, you know, somewhat in the lines of a, you know, a Billy Ocean or something like that. You know, that's kind of where they saw me, and which was fine. But I kind of saw me as a little bit more harder edge, and so I wanted to release the track I Found Out, which was a more of a rocky, edgier track, but it never came to pass. So, but the album did great. We did a tour out west, went to Calgary, and that was the '88 Olympics. I don't know if you remember that time period. And we toured all the way out to Calgary, and we spent a couple of weeks there while the Olympics were going on. Got to meet the Jamaican bobsled team. So it was great stuff. It was great touring.
Awesome. Now, fast forward to all these years later, and by how many degrees of separation? I know that you've worked with Valerie Shearman,
Mm,
who is the wife of the late, great Buzz Shearman
was.
of
Mhm.
Moxy fame. And now, all these years later, back to Moxy, you're working with Earl Johnson
Yeah,
in a band called Tribz.
exactly.
So I knew about long black Cadillacs, and I'd spoken to Earl Johnson a number of times over the past few years on this show. And out of the blue, long black Cadillacs is totally changed over, and there's this new dynamic singer in the band, and it's you. So how did that happen?
Well, okay, so stepping back a little bit, you know, growing up in Kitchener-Waterloo, I always looked around for the bands that were really happening. And I had a Moxy album, okay? And they were one of the bands that, to me, it was Moxy, you know, Canadian, right? Canadian content I was looking at, like who's doing what in Canada in terms of rocking the house. There was this band called Tease. Remember them? They were,
Right.
yeah, they were kicking it too. Um, and out of Kitchener-Waterloo, we had a little competition um, with a band called, oh no,
Well, it was a competition with another band.
yeah, it was a competition with another band. Anyhow, we did a lot of stuff, and with like I was saying, that I had the album Moxy first album, and really loved Buzz's singing, really loved the tightness of the band and how they came across. And it was years later that I ran into Valerie Sherman, and she was very, very instrumental in helping me put together this showcase at the El Mocambo that actually got me the deal. Because I think she was working with some of the A&R people, either in A&M or maybe it was Warner Brothers. But she, she had her fingers in a lot of different pies, and it was just like, and she really liked what I was doing. And she said, I'll try to help you. And she sent the demos around to a few of the labels, and they were very interested. And she was quite instrumental in helping me get that deal. And then we've stayed friends ever since, and we've done stuff together, songwriting and things like that. And it was one day she said, "Hey, do you want to get into a band?" Because I was out of the band scene for a long time, right? I've been working on other projects. I've stayed in music the entire time. So just to give you a little back history of where I was in the music industry, I took the side door, as they call it, and I went to do commercials and music for television and radio broadcast. So I was the jingle guy, and I created jingles, and I was with a company here in Hamilton called MJM Media Productions. And they did everything from, they created these jingles. And I have to say, the genius behind it was Michael J. McCurley. He really knew his stuff in terms of creating really award-winning jingle content. And he really showed me how to put all that together. And for me, it was, again, music. It was just music. So it was 30 seconds or a minute. So it doesn't matter. You had to get that, you had to get to the people in that time period. And so I started doing jingles for him, and with his company, I was as an engineer. So I got engineering chops there and producing some award-winning jingles with MJM Media. And it was fabulous. So that was my side door. But at the same time, I was also writing for my own company called Spa Music Stream. And what Spa Music Stream does is allows massage therapists or Reiki healers or anybody with energy, Reiki or energy healers, to come and use music to help relax, first of all, their client, and actually feed them energy, because some of it is in 4-3-2 tuning, and some of it is based on some metaphysical healing techniques. So, I was writing for that and doing jingles. And then, so, there was no band, there was nothing like that. I wasn't going to go live or donate, none of those things. And it was just so funny. It was that, okay, so here we are, it's COVID, everybody's locked down, we're all bummed out. And I'm like, oh, God, I wish I could play. And then Valerie said, hey, have you joined a band? You want to join a band? I said, who? And she said, well, Earl's thinking about, looking for a new singer for his band. And I said, well, let me have a look. And what I saw I thought it was great. Very, very blues oriented, had some soul in there. And I was like, okay, yeah, I could do this. This is kind of my vibe. And they were ready to make a change in their roster. The singer was, whatever reason, was moving somewhere else or doing something else. And I said, okay, so let's jump into a rehearsal situation, see how it feels. And we did, and it felt great. And that's sort of how, that's sort of how it just fell together. Like, I'm a big believer in when things are ready, the doors will open. And it just seemed like it was the right time. And so I'm in the band, contributing with my vocals and stage talents, and even in production, because we're doing some of the production here. And you can't see my studio because I've got my love hearts behind me, but we've done some production here, and we're almost ready right now. We're looking at releasing the next the first single off the album. It's called Save the World, so that's coming up shortly. we're
Well,
excited.
we'll all look forward to that, that's for sure. And you know, Earl is probably one of the most undervalued guitarists in Canada. I mean, he is an amazing talent, as you are as well. And the lineup in this band Tribz is really phenomenal. I mean, Donnie is an amazing bass player, and everybody.
No, everybody, it's exceptional, exceptional. You know, it's this exceptional musicianship in the group. And you know, for the longest time, I've always said Earl's playing is like, you know, kin to Carlos Santana meets Eddie Van Halen. You know, like it's just he's got some melodic things with his guitar playing. It's not just it's very melodic, and that's me. I love to deal with melody. Melody structure is all it's what's all about. It helps people move. Again, it's music is an instrument of opening up the emotional centers, and this is what I learned doing jingles of how do you allow people to buy your product. Well, if you get to the person's emotional center, people buy on emotion. They don't buy on logic. They get emotional about it, and they go, I gotta have that. And that's the beautiful thing that was taught to me by Michael McCurley, was that if you get them in the emotional state, you can basically ask them to do anything, which I've proven that many times over in a live thing. You know, when you're live and people are emotionally in charge with whatever you're doing. I'll tell you one little story what happened to us in Harbinger. We're playing in a club and things were just peaking, and it was about 11:30, and I just said, let's try something. And I get, everybody stand up. And the whole club stood up. And I said, everybody grab their glass or beer. And everybody grabbed their glass and beer. And everybody smash it. And they did. And the club owner went, wah! And we were banned from that club at that point. But you know what? Everybody had to buy a new beer. They have to buy another beer and had to buy another drink. So he doubled his thing right there. But anyways, it was one of those, you know, again, being very young and very, you know, inexperienced in what I was just testing the waters to see exactly what could happen. And it's so true. Once you've got the person or people in an emotional state, they'll basically listen to you and do whatever you say.
Well, speaking of listening to you, why don't we take a couple of minutes right now and just check out the Tribz promo video that you guys put together?
What's it gonna take? Driving low on this desert night, I see your face. Can we make this love? Can we make this love real again? It's just another day in paradise. It's just another day. Sunny days in love and reggae nights. It's just another day in paradise. Long black Cadillac, take me home. Long black Cadillac, take me home. Long black Cadillac, take me home. Oh, take me home.
Wow, that's fantastic. You know, and I highly encourage anybody out there, if you're anywhere near the GTA or Hamilton area, please check out a Tribz show. You guys are just amazing. So you touched
Thank you.
on the fact that there's a new single coming, and I know when I've spoken to Earl, there's been talk about a lot of stuff, an album, I understand. So what's happening and what's coming?
Okay, so we're not completely finished the album, but we do want to put out something that's going to resonate with people right now, because there's so much going on in the world, so much negativity, I would call it, and verging on wars and rumors of wars. And to me, coming from being the peace troubadour and coming from a place of my heart, and knowing that we cannot survive in this world unless we all come together. And it's the song is called "Save the World" for the children. And I don't know about you, but I have grandkids now. Yeah. And what's their world going to be like? You know, and that's it's concerning for me and to the other members of the band, that this world that we're living in is going to be transformed in a way that we're not ourselves are not going to recognize. But what is it going to be like for our kids, kids, moving down the road? So we have to take charge of it now. We have to look at things now and start to put this back together in a way that's going to benefit in a long term everybody, right? And the song was written back when COVID began, and really we started putting that together, and it's so applicable to what's going on right now that we felt it was urgent for us to move on it and really get it out to the people. So and they will resonate with the sentiment for sure, because nobody wants to see their children or children's children in a bad situation, especially within wars that don't even really concern them, right? We're getting into a place where people don't want to do this. We want to talk about peace. There's a way to get through it if we were willing to sit down, but continuing to hurt each other and then teaching that to the next generation so that they can continue to hurt each other is not the way. It's not the way of the peaceful warrior. It's not going to work. It's going to be destructive in the long term. So the song is about, coming together, bringing us together in a way that we can, be peaceful. And it's all really about the children. So, yeah, that's all I can really say about it. I'm hoping that, people will have a listen to it and share it when it comes out. We're not sure of the release date yet, but we're getting ready. We just shot a video for it, and it's going to get ready to come out soon.
And I know that Earl and Donnie and the guys have all got a lot going on as far as the promo on the social media. And I don't think we've connected yet on social media. We'll have to fix that.
Yes.
But that said, there is a website, Errol Starr website. Can you just give us the actual site
Sure.
name?
It's my site is errolstarfrancis.com, and Tribz is tribzmusic.com. So you can check out both sites. I have links on my site that go to Tribz, and my site has a number of music pieces that I created as a solo artist there as well. It showcases some of my other works that I do with other people as well. I used to do, I'm not doing this right now at the moment, but work with children that need help in school. And music is a great way to open distressed children up to just being part of the community, right?
Absolutely. And I know that you're very community involved, and that's important. We need to share the love in any way we can. Personally, I grew tired of the business side of the music business years ago. So these days, I'm living my life for the love of living, and I'm making my music for the love of the music and for those who love the music. And I think it is really important that we share our love and we share our music in any way we can. I just I love to hear stories like yours. You know, you're somebody who's been years in the business. You not become jaded. You know you've been successful. You're spreading the love, and that is awesome. So I want to thank you so much, Errol, for taking the time out of your day to do this with me. And keep doing what you're doing. Keep sharing the love. And until
Thank you.
next time, cheers.
Cheers. Thanks so much, Tommy.
Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a one-man production, meaning that I've done all the work, including recording, editing, guest acquisition, etc. And hey, here's some news. We've just recently joined forces with 519 Magazine, so you can check out my interviews there as well. The theme song for Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a clip from my original composition, The Burn, all rights reserved. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to help us keep it going, why don't you click on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, cheers.